Welcome to Sports Sunday. I'm Brooke Grimsley. The Cardinals making moves before the trade deadline, picking up two very veteran left-handed pitchers. It wasn't anything splashy, but the Cardinals hope that it's enough to help them get through this very critical month of August as they wait for the return of pitchers Jack Flaherty and Miles Mikolas. It's out with the new and in with the old for the Redbirds. The Cardinals traded Lane Thomas to the Nats for 37-year-old Jon Lester, an old nemesis from his time with the Cubs. He was 3-5 with the Nationals this season. He's also a 5-time All-Star. Then earlier this week, they traded John Gant and a minor leaguer to the Twins for 38-year-old Jay Happ, who brings in a 6.77 ERA. President of baseball operations for the Cardinals, John Mozeliak, says that they were looking to add some experience to their starting rotation.
Two guys that can take advantage of this ballpark. Obviously, it's a pitcher-friendly ballpark, and hopefully that allows them to have more success as part of the equation as well. But yes, I mean, ultimately, when you look at where we were, a month ago or a month and a half ago, we were having trouble getting into the second or third inning, and that just was putting an enormous amount of stress on different areas of our club. And so, ultimately, we hope that not only can they give us those innings, but it also brings a little bit of veteran leadership as well into that clubhouse and guys that have had success at a high level.
Now we're welcoming in Cardinals beat writer for KMOV.com, Brenden Schaeffer. Brenden, the Cardinals making some moves before the trade deadline that left fans a little confused and underwhelmed, picking up 37-year-old Jon Lester and 38-year-old Jay Happ. What was your initial reaction to the news, and do you really think this will help the Cardinals get through a critical stretch of games this month?
Brooke, it's pretty clear the Cardinals needed some help on the pitching side. John Mozeliak said this was their approach. They were looking to get some help for their starting rotation, and they did find some. Now, how exciting the names they acquired, that's another question. Jon Lester's got an ERA over 5. It's been even worse for Happ, who's nearing the 7 mark for his ERA and was over 9 for the month of July. But the Cardinals are in a situation where they were relying upon guys like Woodford and Oviedo, young pitchers that the Cardinals feel could do well developing in AAA right now rather than being at the big league level. And so they decided we're going to take our chance on some veterans, hope that we can catch some lightning in a bottle. And the important thing for John Mozeliak and company that they set out to guarantee when they started making those deals was they didn't want to give up part of their future in order to do it. Losing John Gant, losing Lane Thomas, I think those were prices the Cardinals could afford to pay. And so they're taking their shot on low-cost acquisitions, and we'll see how it pans out.
And give me your best case and worst case scenario with Happ and Lester coming into this weekend as we wait for Flaherty and Miles to return.
I feel like the best case is kind of what the Cardinals had gotten from Wade LeBlanc. You got to remember, this is a guy that's now in their starting rotation, is a 37-year-old pitcher who was cast off by the Baltimore Orioles earlier in the season, and that's not a contending team by any means. So they weren't good enough they didn't feel that he was good enough for them, and then the Cardinals say, yeah, you're good enough for our rotation. I can understand where that would rub fans the wrong way, the same way these moves at the trade deadline may have done. But Wade LeBlanc has given the Cardinals an opportunity to win in pretty much every start that he's made. And so perhaps the change of scenery, that's basically all you're hoping for from Happ, because when you ask about the worst case scenario, it's kind of what he's been, which is an ERA over 9 and an OPS over 1,000 for opposing batters in the month of July. For Lester, I think the worst case scenario maybe isn't quite that terrible. He's got an ERA at 5.21, certainly not to his career standards, but capable enough. Right now, the Cardinals, I think they're just hoping to get 5 to 6 innings out of these guys, 3 runs maybe per game, and that could be enough. It's certainly better than, for instance, what they saw in their last outing from Jake Woodford, gave up 7 runs in only 3 innings. That's not the kind of outing that the Cardinals can really get behind and be able to win games with.
Yeah, I just would like to pretend that didn't happen the other night. Well, looking at the NL Central, last question for you, Brenden. The Cardinals are right now 9.5 games behind the first-place Brewers. What do you see happening right now with all these moves that they made as we approach, right now, today's August 1st, I forgot about that, as we enter August, a very obviously critical part of the season for the Redbirds?
Yeah, the Cardinals, 9.5 games back of the Brewers, that's definitely a tough hill to climb, but what they did over the weekend against the Twins, just simply winning 2 out of 3, needs to kind of be their mantra moving forward. They have a very winnable schedule for the month of August. not playing any teams that are above 500 unless you're talking about specifically the Brewers, a team that they're chasing in the division. And so this is an opportunity for the Cardinals to just continue to win series, take 2 out of 3 where they can, maybe 3 out of 4 when you have some longer series, and just trying to work their way back to where at the beginning of September, which you'll still have some games against Milwaukee in that month, if you're like 4 or 5 games back to begin the month of September, that's at least within striking distance. So the Cardinals had a stretch like this kind of before the All-Star break where they played bad teams. You thought this is when they're going to go on their run, and it didn't happen. But now the Cardinals have one more opportunity to do that. They don't have to make it any more than it is. Just win series against bad clubs, and they could find themselves in striking distance when it comes to September.
All right. Thank you so much, Brenden, for joining me. And of course, if anybody wants to read your articles, they can just go to our website, KMOV.com. And you also have a great podcast that I'll let you plug.
Yeah, Be Shape Daily. You can find it on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, talking Cardinals baseball pretty much like 5 days a week.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you so much, Brenden. The Cardinals not the only ones in town going through a lot of changes. The Blues also had a very busy week, saying goodbye to another core veteran guy while welcoming in some new but familiar faces. Here's the Blues changes in order. Pavel Buchnevich signs a 4-year deal with the Blues. Jaden Schwartz is leaving the Blues and moving on to the new team, the Seattle Kraken. Brandon Saad signs a 5-year deal with the Blues, and Ivan Barbashev re-signed. Saad was the big surprise this week as we get close to seeing the final roster for the Blues. He said he had other offers but liked the idea of playing here in St. Louis.
There's a lot of factors going into it. Like I said, it's not just hockey, but it's a family aspect too. So it's a stressful time. There's a lot of things going on. It's a whirlwind, but I'm happy that I'm in St. Louis now. I heard a lot about how the living's great, and obviously playing against the Blues a lot. I know how good the team is and the character of the team. So I want to win again, and that part excites me.
Still ahead on Sports Sunday, Cardinals great Ozzie Smith gets his moment in the spotlight at Cooperstown. That's next in the Flashback.